Hi again, everybody. This is Jimmy Knight, once again from the Conference Center at Mars Hill University. We are establishing a number of these recordings for people to get counsel during the summer months on things like job searching and resume development and various other subjects that might be pertinent for someone who has graduated recently and is curious as to what to do next. Today, we're going to talk about networking. And once again, our friend Steve Francis from Columbia, South Carolina, has joined me to talk about the unbridled power and oftentimes far too untapped power of networking. It is a constant sermon that I preach to folks that I know. They actually, my son gets kind of tired of hearing about it sometimes because I tell him about it constantly. Once again, Steve is a member of the class of '72 from Mars Hill University, and he has spent 30 plus years in HR management, a long time VP of HR at Ag First Farm Credit that covered 15 states and the island of Puerto Rico. So easy to say that he once oversaw the HR requirements and processes for 2,500 folks in his particular district. So Steve, in your vast expanse of knowing people and the networks that you've, I guess you've garnered over the years, what was the first door opening aha moment that you had out of school?
I think when I finished school, I was sitting there thinking of that by the time I graduated, I had the job requirements to get a job, and I was king of the hill, and getting a job wouldn't be that hard. I went on my first interview, and I remember thinking, "Wow, this is a lot harder than I thought," and I realized I wasn't very prepared. In fact, even when I started trying to get other interviews, I realized that getting the interview is not as easy as it sounds. So it's a challenging situation. Couldn't be even more challenging than today.
I've often been asked, where do I start? How do I start creating a network? And I tell people that the nexus, the very nucleus of a network, is a whole lot closer than you think. Any advice that you'd like to give about starting that kind of I guess, sort of a diagram or a notebook? What would you recommend?
Sure. Think about this for a minute, that the thousands of applicants' resumes are submitted daily, and if you think of out of every a couple thousand resumes, only 6 may be seen by a human, and the challenge is how do you get to have an interview, which is the next step in the process. Your odds are greatly enhanced by having a network of, and it doesn't have to be just friends. We all know that a network is family, school classmates, church friends, social friends, and not only our friends, but our parents' friends and all those. But when you've got social networking like LinkedIn, a lot of people are networking with people they never meet in person. And when you think that the power that brings to the table, networking is something that should, once started, should never end throughout your entire career, should be an ongoing process. So the whole purpose of a network is to get ideas. Think about this for a minute. By year 2030, not that far from now, 85% of the jobs don't exist today. That's pretty powerful. A lot a change is taking place over the next few short years. So how would you find out about that information unless you're networking with people that are working in some of those new fields and new jobs that come available? And it helps to learn, it helps to ask questions, it helps to say, would you mind sharing any ideas that you could have to help me find a job in XYZ or something. Talk to people, but don't overlook the social aspect of talking with people.
I talk to folks a lot during the week, and a few of the contacts that I've made in terms of trying to create a corporate partnership program here at Mars Hill, when I talk to them about what it is that they want to see in students that are coming out of school now, is that inherent quality where they can sort of fuse a couple of different things together to where they almost make their own job, or they take a basic job description, and by bringing in other other aspects of soft skills and tech skills and things along those lines, they actually create this kind of a unique opportunity for themselves. And oftentimes, you won't, like you're saying, you won't even find out about some of these opportunities unless you are going through the grapevine and listening to the grapevine. And it's really kind of interesting how referrals always seem to float to the top of the pack. And you know, you and I were talking about an article that we saw in Forbes a few days ago, and it was really kind of interesting. The statistics made me say, wow, as I was reading the article on Sunday morning. 40% of the hires that this particular journalist, his research indicated, is 40% of the hires come from the referral pool. That's only 7% of the applicants. So 7% of the applicants are getting 40% of the jobs. Referrals have a 50% chance of getting an interview. And out of that group, you have a 20% chance of landing the job. Whereas opposed to if you're just sending in resumes, you are literally one of thousands. The odds are not in your favor if you're just sending in virtual paper to some of these jobs. And 65% of job seekers recommended by current employers are hired. That's 65%. In fact, of the 30 years that I've been employed, there has been only one job that I got by answering an ad in the newspaper. And that was really blind, dumb, idiot luck. And the only thing that got me the interview was the fact that the magazine that I once worked for, the person who was doing the hiring was a big fan of that magazine. So she actually pulled me in to find out the scoop on the magazine, and I ended up getting hired. So, so you know, the whole aha moment for me was going to some civic organizations and talking to a friend of one of my professors that was a bigwig in the advertising arena in the market that I was trying to go to. And that point of my network sprung into about 8. He got me in touch with 8 different people, and one of those actually ended up being the connection that I needed for my first internship. And that internship is what got me my first job. So you never know who you're talking to when you meet people. You never know who you're talking to on the phone or when you meet. So always have your best foot forward and present yourself like the job you want, basically. In terms of LinkedIn, what advice do you have for people in regards to creating a LinkedIn account?
Well, with the LinkedIn account, it will ask you to establish a profile. And very often, as with all of social media, you can use it as a chat tool, or you can also, employers can check out your job profile or your in essence, a small version of a resume. So be very careful before you start putting information out there that it's really, that you've given some thought to what you do want and kind of set your goals. And I would say to learn a little bit about it before you start posting a lot about yourself. And that would include Facebook and other things. When you start putting a lot of information out about yourself, think about what's out there. Make sure that it's a positive message that you're portraying, and it's not something that you're going to have to check or be in conflict with other tools that might be there. But networking is far more powerful than any of us realize. So don't limit it to just those people that we know, those people in high places. What you're really wanting to do is learn, glean information, and but I too, I would think a lot of my leads about jobs came through network. I would tell you that a lot of, especially small employers, encourage their employees to help find good coworkers. Some will even pay their coworkers to find a good coworker. The research indicates an employee is going to be happiest if they have a best friend at work. They're happier at work, things go well. If you're smart as a psychologist, you start thinking, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could encourage our good employees to find people like them, other good employees. So sometimes it's not necessarily a best friend, someone that you've known for a long time. Sometimes it's an acquaintance that really likes working someplace and they're eager to share that. So any acquaintance can be useful in giving you a lead of something that could be very helpful, and then follow up with how is the best way to get the resume to the right person. So sometimes in a small organization, it isn't necessarily by going through HR.
I would suggest that for students who are viewing this and listening to this, one of the best ways to begin a network, a professional network, is to get to know alumni from the school that you're basically attending classes at right now. When you see that there is an alumni event, homecoming, football games, affinity groups that are pulling in alumni, get out there and shake hands and meet the people who have been here before you. Anytime that the conference center or any other group has special guests on campus, go to those panel discussions, meet and greet the speakers, tell them your name, tell them what it is that you are doing, and strike up a conversation with them and ask interesting questions about how they managed to start thinking in the line of work that they're in right now. Probe alumni connections, and get out there and find out what you can about these people, because we have some very, very interesting and very successful alumni out there, and they're very eager to become engaged with our current students. Also, you mentioned LinkedIn as working on your profile there. I would encourage all of our students to go into the Handshake application that's available to everybody, because there is a profile page in there, and it's a great place to practice and to post things that doesn't necessarily go out into the universe, into the cosmos, and you can sort of start to filter yourself. You can start working and polishing all of the social media skills that you need in this somewhat private and secluded environment, one that we can also track and work with you on. So I encourage people to use that. There's a lot of opportunities here at Mars Hill to learn the art and science of networking. And Steve, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the insights in this, and I hope Do you have any parting words of wisdom for anyone?
I would just say, view it as a lifelong process, because it will pay dividends not only to your first job, which is the hardest to get. First job is always the most challenging. Once you got 2 or 3 years experience, you'll start thinking more and more about a career, which is different than getting a job. So then things will evolve, and that's where networking continues in that process of fine tuning. So the average person, I used to say, change jobs every 7 years. Now the latest research is that it might be every 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So networking is powerful.
It is. Thank you so much for your input and your insights. And until we meet again, hope you have a good day.
Thank you, Jimmy. Pleasure.
Take care. Thank you.